the guest list this evening, all I can say is she's a lovely young lady. She's sat opposite me. She's got a Marvel bag. She's got all the heroes of Marvel. She's grinning away. She's wearing glasses, and why have I mentioned that? She's wearing glasses because that reminds me of Superman, because not only has she got a bag with all the Marvel superheroes on, she's also got some Superman boots on, and I'm talking about the lovely Kate Hames. And I have to admit, listeners, I know very little about this little gem of a poet. We had a brief encounter. I'm sure that's a film with Trevor Howard, but we did have a brief encounter this year, earlier on this year, at the UK Indie Lit Fest. I got in touch with Kate and I said, would you like to come on the show? And now, about 5 minutes before we've come on air, she's announced that she knows nothing about the show and she's slightly nervous. But I do not believe that for one moment. And I just want to give a shout out. I don't normally give shout outs here at the Writer's Bookshelf, but I promised I would do, because I've had to drag myself out of retirement today and actually work for a living. And where have I been working? I've been working at Kelbrook Mill with the lads from Fulcrum Disaster Management, led by the unstoppable Mr. Andy Little, joined by Dad himself, Richard, brother Jason. We've got Toby, we've also got Swifty, we've got Alec, we've got Ricky, we've got Andy Smith, and my main men, Honky Tonk Sammy and the one and only Dagnam Wayne. And let's face it, guys, we have been really, really cold this evening. So if you're tuned in, I hope you are enjoying the show, and I will see you bright and breezy tomorrow morning. I'm going to have to show my guest this evening some respect, because I'm convinced she is a superhero. Kate, good evening.
Hello.
Are you a superhero?
Yes, I am.
What's your special power?
Oh God.
Oh God.
My special power is writing poetry.
Hey, that's a good answer. That's a fantastic answer. And I think some of the listeners think I'm joking, but you do have some Superman boots on, Kate.
I do have Superman shoes on, yes.
And you're wearing glasses.
I am.
And you've got your bag with all your Marvel different...
It does have all the Marvel characters on it.
So we might talk about Marvel characters and superheroes a little bit later on. I'm not lying, we haven't really had much conversation. We have exchanged a little bit of information via social media, but we bumped into each other, not literally, but at the UK Indie Lit Fest.
We did?
Yeah. And obviously invited you onto the show. So just give us a little bit of a background, because you keep telling me, or you have said you've been writing for ages and ages and ages and ages. Are you? Have you always liked the poetry? Have you always liked writing poetry?
I have, yeah. It was something that I think I got into at school, and maybe I remember a couple of my friends at school telling me that they enjoyed my poems, and maybe a couple of teachers said that I was good at writing poems. It's just something that I've always done. I think it's more of a release, really. That why I do it now, why I started doing it in the first place, I don't know, to be honest. But
I think a lot of people like writing poetry because it is, like you say, it's release, it's escapism,
yeah,
and it is obviously a form of expression. It's not a short story. It's not an 800-page, Tolkien draft book. And I think a lot of less is better, I think someone said. And you can write, as you well know, you can write a long poem, short poem. You can even write a poem with, obviously just 4 lines, but it just says so much. So you think that's what appeals to you?
I think so, yeah. It's kind of my own therapy in a way.
I think we all need a bit of therapy. Especially me. So, have you got any poetry in that's been published at the moment?
No, I haven't.
But I think you're working towards that. Is that one of your aims?
It was, yes. It's something that I am hoping to do in the future. But at the moment, it's all just on my blog.
Because you did share some poems at the UK Indie Lit Fest. You have got a book available for our listeners, which we will talk about as the show unfolds.
Yep.
So you've talked. When I've done a little bit of research, like working for the FBI, it does say obviously you like writing. Mm-hmm. You've been writing for ages, and you're a lifestyle guru, and you like blogging, and you like adventures. Are you I was thinking that as of Indiana Jones, sort of an equivalent, female equivalent of Indiana Jones or Lara Croft. I don't think that will offend you. Is that how you sort of see yourself? Because are you also starring pantomime? So we've got plenty to talk about.
Well, it's funny you should mention the Lara Croft thing, because I did a module with university on archaeology, actually, at one point.
You? Did you go dressed as Lara Croft?
I didn't. No, it was done from home. So I suppose I could have sat on my sofa dressed as Lara Croft.
Because you are studying. You are studying
yes,
for a degree.
I am.
And what is the degree in?
Well, it's an open degree with the Open University.
Yes.
So I've done lots of different modules. Like I say, I've done archaeology, I did creative writing, forensics, art.
That's enough.
Well, there was lots. There was science. I'm doing signals and perception at the moment. So
signals and perception.
Yeah.
Has a little bit of Aldous Huxley come in there or not?
No.
Has it not? Well, you never know. So just backtrack about 3 or 4 answers. I feel like
sorry.
No, it's me. I feel a little bit like Bruce Forsyth when he used to do like the conveyor belt. You've named that much stuff. You did talk about doing a little bit of creative writing. So
yes.
I always ask people this, because some people go down the path of you just write naturally. You know, like, as you've already said, people like to write. You get skill. You maybe get a gold star or well done. And you know, you get like a little bit of chocolate from teacher because your story, and then all of a sudden you might think you've got a talent and you might talk. I used to get told off at school for talking, and it's funny why I'm on radio now. But you start talking, and then you write stories, and you have a knack. But then some people have the idea that you need to go on a creative writing course. So what did you feel that you got from the creative side of writing?
From the module.
From the module, yes.
To be honest, nothing.
Did you not? Hey, no, that's people. So why would you say that? Did you think it was maybe too simplistic, or don't you think it challenged you enough?
It was because, to me, the module that I did wasn't purely based on creative writing. It was more to do with the structure of how you write, and to me, that's not creative writing. That's just writing. It's
like back at school, I think.
Yeah. Where to me, creative writing is give me a word and I'll write you a story based around that word. That's that's being creative.
There's all sorts of debate, and I'm sort of sitting on the fence at the moment, simply because I get a lot of guests coming on the show. Some of the guests run creative writing courses,
right?
And some sort of think, well, you don't need to go on a creative writing course. Some people say you do, and I get where you're coming from, because I think a lot of people do not like the idea of being at school, or like you say, it's a full stop, it's a capital letter. You write it like this, you write it like that. But then if it is creative, then possibly you're left on your own.
Yeah. I think that's the whole point of being creative. It's to not have any structure to it. You just do what feels right.
It's just where the world is, isn't it? It's. I think you can get guidance. Would you agree? You can get a little bit of guidance with your writing.
I think so. Yeah, because obviously you can't just go straight into writing a story and just flit from one thing to another, because it wouldn't make sense. There does need to be a bit of structure there, but you should just let your imagination be allowed to let your imagination run wild.
I like it. I want to go with you on that one. and it could be argued that if you sort of move, I wouldn't say move in the right circles, but it's like anything. If you're a footballer, a swimmer, a writer, whatever your profession, if you move in those circles, it's like being in a little gang, a little family.
Yeah.
And you can all draw sort of off each other. If you're writing poetry and other people aren't, you're sort of reading and doing your writing, it's sort of like stimulating you.
Yeah, of course it is.
In many ways. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Okay, and also that leads me on to another question. Are you a reader? Are you a reader or are you a writer? You know what I'm going to say.
Well, I used to be. I don't read as much as I used to because I don't have time. But
you've got to make time.
I know. I do know that.
Are you a mum?
I am.
Yes. I couldn't remember, because I bet you say. The reason I say that is because, do you say to your children, I don't know, do you say like, you've got to make time? I've been bad now.
Well, he's 14, is my son.
Oh, and what would you say to your son if he said, Mum, I ain't got time? Would you say you got to make time?
Well, I know that he does have time because he doesn't do anything. So
I've been a bit silly there because some people say, oh, you've got to make time. You've got to make time. I don't have time to read.
I think that is it's a stupid excuse, to be honest, because I know that I can find time if I really wanted to sit and read.
Shall I tell you what I think the problem is? And I do have a similar problem. If you're writing poetry, short stories, and you are a creative person, I think your mind is always going off on tangents. Yeah. And if you're probably like me, do you have a little notebook?
I have hundreds of notebooks. Yeah. Everywhere.
Hey, we're like kindred spirits.
I've got one in my bag right now, actually.
We'll have a look at that when we play the next song. But that's what I'm talking about, because you're writing. Obviously, when you might be sat in front of a computer or jotting things down. Yeah. You've got your book, and you're writing stuff, and then, oh no, it's this, oh no, it's that, and you're always left, right, up, down. And then you don't really have time to structure yourself, because I can have 2 or 3 books sort of on the go. In fact, I took a book down to Cornwall and I'm halfway through it. I haven't touched it since I came back from Cornwall.
I've been reading David Attenborough's autobiography for a year.
Yeah, and it'll be on the second one.
Yeah, probably already has written it, to be honest.
It is interesting when I do speak to other authors and poets that you read a lot of things and they say to be a good writer or an author, you've got to read a lot and write a lot. Yeah. But to be honest, the more people that come on the show, there are more people that come on the show that say, oh, I should read more. Yeah. So I don't really know what to make of that.
I think it's half and half, I think. That I have heard many people saying that if you want to be a great writer, you do have to read a lot.
Yes. There's different aspects. I mean, some people just read and read and read. And I think the thing is, if you are really focused on a piece of work, then you want to get on with it and not read anyone else's. Anyway, I tell you what we're going to do now. Okay. You're here because it's the wonderful poems of Kate Ames. So in your own time, I know you've got a stack of poems down the side of you. Do you want to share one with us?
I can do that, yes.
So in your own time, and I don't know if you're going to read, you've got one that's a little bit suggestive coming up later on in the show, haven't you? But the listeners, I mean, they're all crazy. We're going to shout out already to Elaine Chiswick. Good evening, Elaine. Elaine's a good friend of mine that lives up in South Shields, and she's got a little bit of a saying now, and she goes something like, "Good evening, Writer's Bookshelf, just checking in." So I think Elaine, she's a writer of erotic and erotica, so I think she might like that suggestive one.
All right.
So there's plenty of people tuned in.
Yep.
So tell us a little bit about, or do you want to read it out first and then we'll talk about it?
Yep, okay.
Share it with us first, Kate, and then we'll have a chat.
Thank you. This one is called Hopeless. The liquid skin that covers my face shows ripples across the water and mirrors the marks of time. Faded is the smile that once dominated your life, replaced by constant lines that only grew more prominent. Each day brings brand new terrors, each more horrifying than the last, a turmoil that has now become life. Once where there was laughter, hope and plans for the future, lies despair, disarray and fear. The discarded memories strewn all around, too sentimental to give away, too painful to look at, blanketed by a layer of dust. No worried souls will pass this way again. I have long since vanished from the thoughts of others. All I can do is wait now. Wait for the final days. It won't be long now.
I like that one. That's quite a powerful.
Thank you.
Quite a powerful poem. So where, if you don't mind me asking, then what were the sort of? Is that something that's happened in your life? Or is it based? Is it just come from you? Where the inspiration?
It was.
From?
I think, to be honest, some of the poems that I have, I do know where they've come from. But that one, I think it was actually something to do with somebody that had lost a child that I saw online.
Yes, yeah.
Years ago, and it just
stuck in your mind. Yeah. And that's why I asked a little bit tentatively, simply because I sort of got obviously know that the meaning and the idea behind the poem, and I don't want to.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't something personal to me.
No,
it was
but
just
something you've read.
Yeah. It was probably just a word. It was probably one word in that poem was something that I took from.
Yes.
Something. That,
and you thought, I've got to write. So where does Kate Ames get her inspiration from? Because it sounds like one big massive adventure. So where would you get your inspiration from? News or a Twitter feed or watching something on the telly, on a radio?
It will be
everywhere.
Yeah, it is everywhere. It's a lot of the time it's being outdoors. I don't know, looking at a tree or something.
Looking at a tree?
Yeah. I don't know.
Do you talk to the trees?
No, I don't.
A little bit of a pause there. You had to think about that.
That was something that me and my friend used to do when I was younger, was talk to trees.
So you did talk to the trees. Did they answer back?
No, unfortunately not.
They didn't, no?
No.
All the reason I'm asking that is because I don't know if you might not be sort of old enough to remember, but Windsor Davis and Donna Stell did have, back in the 70s, a number 1 hit with Whispering Grass. And I'm just wondering if you could maybe do a Whispering Tree, because, he said the trees don't need to know. You'll have to, when you get home, you'll have to look at that.
I will, yeah.
And, Whispering Grass, Donna Stell and Windsor Davis. So you and one of your friends could bring us up to date in the 21st century with talking trees or whispering trees. Do you talk to the animals?
I do talk to animals.
Do you talk to dogs?
All animals, I will talk to them.
Which was the last animal that you spoke to, Kate?
It probably would have been one of my rats. We've got 2 pet rats.
Have you?
Yeah.
So this morning you spoke to the rats today?
Yeah.
And what names are the rats going by?
Gwen and Heidi.
Gwen and Heidi?
Yeah.
See, a lot of people tuned in now and they'll be thinking, rats. Have they got those, ratty tails?
They have. And that's what I thought. I used to hate rats, but then my boyfriend convinced me that...
So you've overcome your fears?
Yeah. And we've had 5 altogether now. So
5 rats?
Yeah, they're really cute.
You're not building up to be a contestant on I'm a Celebrity, are you? if I nip round to your house for a cuppa and some chocolate hobnobs and I go in a cellar, there's not a coffin with a bucket of water and some rats, and you and your boyfriend time yourself to see how long you can stay in there, dear.
No, I can't say that I've ever thought of doing that.
But I could see though quite a lot of going on behind your eyes when I suggested that. Is that something that you might do?
Maybe.
You never know. No. You never know, dear. So what subjects... You see, you're just taking us off track now, kid. No, it's me that does it. What subjects do you like to write about with your poetry, or do you tackle any subject?
I will, I will write about anything. There was a point where I was struggling for things to write about, and so I was asking my boyfriend and my friends to give me words or ideas, and my boyfriend gave me a suggestion of potatoes. So I wrote a poem about potatoes.
I've got that poem with us?
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, hang on now. My Facebook page has just gone global. We've had 3,000 hits. They are demanding the potato poem. So, Kate, in your own time, the listeners, the global listeners, intergalactic listeners now want the potato poem in your own time.
Okay. Okay, it's just called Potatoes. The king of the potato people holds a secret far from you. He guards it with his heart and soul, never offering a clue. I know you come to seek the guise. You want to know the truth. The truth will out in time, my friend. Take a ticket, take a booth. I hope you have prepared yourself for your magic carpet ride. The king is ready to emerge from whence he did once hide. A 3-seater is the choice of travel, as many might have heard. Directions can be sought and bought from the Mr. Flibblebird.
That's quite an interesting Mr. Flibblebird.
It's from Red Dwarf.
I was just thinking then, because Red Dwarf haven't been on the TV for a while, and there's something in the back of my mind. I'm just saying, where do I know that from? So I think that's good. It's a little bit of a crazy poem, isn't it? And I quite like that, because the reason I say that is because there's so many different genres of poetry. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think I always class it as something like, you've got the real classics, you've got real classical poetry, and then you've got rhyming poetry, and then poetry that some people say is for children, and then you've got the brilliant Spike Milligan and the delightful Pam Ayres. So where do you stand on that? Do you like sort of all poetry, or do you like poetry to be a little bit jokey every now and then?
I do like jokey poetry every now and then. Yeah. I do like what I refer to as proper poetry as well.
Now, I'm glad you said proper poetry. What do you class as proper poetry?
I don't know. I couldn't really give you an example of what I class as proper poetry, but
something that really sort of invokes a deep emotion.
Yeah, I would say. I'm trying to think of some examples, and my mind's gone blank.
But I think there's always. I think there's different barriers or different boundaries being broken down by poetry, because I've had I think a couple of weeks ago, I was talking to one of my guests, and I was saying talking about poetry, and we've got to the subject of in schools, and I think there's still a stigma of poetry being a little bit elitist.
Yeah.
And you've got to maybe, if you go in the sixth form or you go to university or you come from a wonderful background. I'm not, it's not my opinion. I'm just sort of thinking what you read. Mm-hmm. But I think there's so many fantastic poetry clubs out there, and then people writing some fantastic poetry, and any subject goes.
Yeah, of course it does.
I mean, have you performed a lot of your poetry, or have you? I saw you at the UK Indie Lit Fest, but
yeah, that was the first time I've ever read any of. Probably at school in assembly, but
we've all had to read out in assembly.
But at the Indie Lit Fest was the first time I've ever done it.
There's all these there's a lot of performance poets.
Yeah,
and I've had a couple of guests on that have that put music to the poetry.
Right. Yeah.
And it's again, it's Heath Common, brilliant. I don't know if you've obviously heard of Heath Common, but if you haven't heard of him, just I'll give you some contact details. Okay. He's absolutely fantastic. And Robert Newson, and they're up on stage, and it's like going to a concert.
Yeah.
It's really different. And I must admit that if I'd have seen something like that, or John Cooper Clarke, if you'd have seen someone like Heath Common, John Cooper Clarke, or Robert Newson at school, poetry wouldn't have been so boring.
No.
and I hope I don't offend anyone by saying that, but I think possibly when you're at school and you read poetry out, people think, poetry. But then you've got Mr. Potato, or Potato, should I say? I mean, we're there, aren't we?
Yeah. It can be about anything, can't it?
I think it can be. So what else have we got in our collection? What will be? What? Because I think that people are going to fall in love with your poetry, and I'd like to see it in print. What other subjects are we going to approach tonight, then, Kate?
I don't know if I've got any others that are along the lines of potatoes.
That's in a class of its own as potato. That's my favourite so far. That's. Which other ones do you think you might want to share with us tonight?
I've got one here called "Don't Live for Today, Live for Your Life."
Oh, that sounds like in your own time.
Okay. I cannot see the future. I don't dwell on the past. Our lives are in the present, but the present doesn't last. Today is quickly forgotten, tomorrow a heartbeat away. Stop wishing that time would move faster. Keep focused, you're here today. Don't stay in the moment, it's fleeting. Think bigger and seize what you have. We get what we're given, so use it. Stay centred, you're on the right path.
Well, that's quite a good one, isn't it? So I've noticed that some of your poetry, you've got some rhymes going on there.
Yeah, I do like them to rhyme, but...
And then you've got like an ending, a really sort of powerful ending, as it, that's it, have a bit of that.
Yeah, like I throw in a sentence at the end where...
Is that your sort of style, as in, because I've noticed it flows really nicely, and then the last, like you said, the last line is possibly more of a statement, as in, that's it now, finished it, go away and enjoy it, and I'm finishing on this note, which is good, really. You don't, like some poetry, it flows right to the end, but just like there. And is that something you sort of developed, or is that something you wanted to?
I think it's because I would have probably. I think I tend to get the last line of a poem in my head.
So that comes first,
yeah, right, and then build the rest of it around it.
That's quite interesting. So most of your poetry, then, you write the last line first?
Yeah, maybe. Or the middle. In fact, I've got one that I'd written the last two lines of it about 7 years before I wrote the beginning.
7 years?
Yeah, I remember writing it because it was towards the end of a relationship.
Yes.
And then the rest of it came towards the end of a different relationship, and I just stuck them together.
Right, so that's quite an interesting sort of concept, really, isn't it?
It's just I'll write things down and leave them lying around.
In one of your books?
Yes. Or I'll write them down somewhere, and I remember my mum saying once, because she found one somewhere, right, and she wrote above it, "Did you write this, Catherine? It's beautiful." And I thought, I'll keep that and I'll use it along the way somewhere else.
Yeah, it's interesting because it sort of lines. I mean, some poetry is obviously liking to songwriting.
Yeah,
You know, you sort of listen to interviews or see people on the TV and you think, where did you get this? How did this brilliant song come about?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like maybe a conversation on a bus or in a cafe.
Yeah.
And I think the late great Tom Petty, somewhere in the back of my mind, he's got a hit, Learning to Fly.
Mm-hmm.
And I vaguely remember him being interviewed. I can't remember if it was on radio or TV, and he were hearing someone and talking about flying lessons.
Right.
And the gentleman behind him said, the line was, coming down is the hardest thing. Because they were talking to his friend.
Yeah.
And he said, "Oh, I love to fly, blah, 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 blah." And he said, "Oh, you know what the hardest thing is? The hardest thing's coming down." So obviously the song goes, learning to fly, ain't got wings. Coming down is the hardest thing. So it's interesting how you can just get a whole song or a poem out
from one sentence.
one line. And how do you tackle the rhyming? Do you beat yourself up? Or when you put a weak rhyme in, do you change it?
I do, yeah. Because I always remember my brother saying that he hates poems that rhyme just for the sake of it, where you've stuck a word in there just because you know it rhymes with the previous one.
Because it doesn't tell the story,
no,
it doesn't flow, and it's not within the sort of context of the...
Whenever I was writing, in fact I still do it now sometimes if I'm writing on paper, I put the alphabet at the top of the paper and look for words. But if it sounds daft, well then I will change it.
But that's not a bad thing, because I have done a similar thing, but in my head. You know, I mean, obviously, you have to be, like beat, feet, heat. You know, that's what you do, isn't it? You sort of go in A, B, C. Yeah. But then sometimes you actually end up changing both words.
Yeah.
It's because you don't, like you say, I think you know. Or do you get like a little bit of a Jedi feeling when you know that
you just know that
word is weak?
Yeah.
And you think, no, I'm not putting that in.
Sometimes I've changed the entire poem.
Have you?
Yeah, to fit round a word.
Because you want that word in there?
Yeah.
Well, there's no problem with that.
No, not at all.
And how do you stand with sort of altering your work? Do you when it's finished, is it finished, or are you a constant reader and a bit picky and swap it round and change it to the point it's unrecognisable? I
won't go back to it. In fact, reading these tonight, I've probably not read them since I put them on my blog. So brilliant. I don't, because I know if I read them over and over again, I'll change them, and I don't want to.
Do you think it might become a different poem if you mess about with it too much? Yeah,
definitely.
Because you've got the idea. You've already said, you've got your idea, you've got your emotion, you've got your inspiration.
Yeah.
And that's part of it. You've captured a little bit of that.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you overthink it, it just changes.
Yeah, of course it does. It's like when you hear a song, for example, I don't know if you've heard Ed Sheeran's song, that Supermarket Flowers.
I've heard of Ed Sheeran.
Well, he's got one that he wrote about when his mum died, and you can tell, listening to it, the emotion that he felt when he wrote that.
Yes.
And it's the same thing, well, I'm hoping, to me, when I read a poem of my own, I will know where it came from in the first place. Mm-hmm. And like you say, if you change it, you kind of take that away a bit then, don't you?
I can go with that, because then you get a feel for how the sort of artist has done that. So, and it's interesting because some people possibly might write for the mass market, so to speak. So some people might think, well, people want to hear this, people want to hear that, and so it's not really you're writing for the mass market. And do you think the listeners or the readers would know that if it was a song or if it was a poem? Do you think that shows through?
Yeah, I do. I do think so.
Do you think that people, just like you already said about sort of Ed Sheeran, and especially with poetry, it's just got that, if it has that little bit of an edge to it, and it just sort of connects with more people, I think.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Because you can write. Do you have good days and bad days, Kate?
Yeah.
That was quite a bit. So what's a good day? What's a good day for Kate? A page? 2 pages?
Oh, I don't know. I've not really thought about it in that sense before.
As in, maybe not word counts, but probably in the sense of I mean, I'm not talking about like a Snow White when she's cleaning the seven dwarfs' house and all birds are all been, cleaned up and brush, sweep, and all that. No, that would be a rubbish impression, really, wouldn't it? But you know where I'm going with it, and then you might get up and you're inspired and you're writing loads and loads but then some days you might get up and you mentioned about your son, your family, you might have to do certain things, and then you think, I'm on my own now, and you write about 2 words.
Yeah, there are plenty of days like that where, in fact, I have probably thought in the past I'm not going to bother writing poetry anymore because nothing's happening in my head. I think it helps. It sounds a bit strange, but
there's nothing strange on the writer's bookshelf.
If you're happy,
yes,
well then you can't write. To me, I can't write poetry as well as I could if I was miserable.
Can't you?
I think a lot of my poetry that I've written comes from being in a bad place in my head at that time.
Yes.
And I would imagine the things like the potatoes, and I've written other silly poems. They obviously were written as jokey poetry, and probably when I was in a better place. But I think a lot of people would. Well, I don't know if they would agree that that's.
No, I do, because I think probably all of or most of the guests I've had on that they're predominantly poets or exclusively poets always write from an emotional angle perspective. And I can go with that. So possibly you might be thinking, if you are feeling a little bit, like you said, down or upset, and the poetry lifts you, so you're probably feeling a bit better. Where maybe some people might write from a different angle. Mm-hmm. It's all good stuff. But Kate, you did say to me that all the songs that you've picked tonight, you've picked them for a reason. Yeah. So let's just start then with Johnny Cash Heard. That's a very sort of powerful track, and obviously when you watch the video, I mean, obviously he's sadly no longer with us, is Johnny Cash, and the video does drift back to his sort of younger days.
It does.
Good old Johnny Cash with his hair and quite an handsome fella, and sort of rugged looks and dressed in black. So why did you pick that song?
It's just, like you say, it is a powerful song, and the video as well. And I love Johnny Cash. I love his music. Was a brilliant man, and it's just the song itself. It does something. It kind of pulls at you, doesn't it? It's just.
He's got one of those voices, and I think a lot of people say it's quite a complex song. Yeah, but it's very simple.
Yeah,
anyway. I mean, I know it's not like there's not a lot of guitar. He doesn't sort of play the guitar, very well. It's more sort of strumming, if you like, isn't it? If you're watching any sort of Johnny Cash, he just keeps it on a few sort of chords, if you like. But I think it's the way he delivers the song, and it's like you say, if you like your poetry and you like your writing, it's the words that are connecting. Yeah, and I think a lot of people have connected with Johnny Cash. And I don't think we have many. Well, you did mention Ed Sheeran. I can't really say that no one is about like Johnny Cash, but I think Ed Sheeran, obviously a man with a guitar, two completely different characters.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Do you think that's why Ed Sheeran's so popular?
Yeah, he is an exceptional songwriter. I think he knows how to write a good song. It's.
And did you think it's because? But his songs also tell a story.
Yeah, they do.
And people can. So it's in the modern era, and we've gone away from what some people might say the sort of hit factory of Simon Cowell and sort of electronic music. Yeah, it's Ed Sheeran. He's got a guitar. Yeah, but people could say that could be me, that could be her, and it tells a nice little story. And I think that was probably somewhat lacking in a bygone era. Yeah. And people, guitars are becoming popular.
Yeah, they are.
Or the acoustic guitar. Yeah. And you think that's why it isn't, because people want songs in their head that they can relate to stages in their life.
Yeah, I think so. It appeals to more people that way when there's a story behind it instead of just something that's just been reeled off.
Well, a lot of them, I mean, I appreciate dance music and popular music, and maybe a lot of teenagers sing about sort of falling in and out of love, but it's basically the same sort of format. There's no sort of depth to it.
No, there isn't.
And I think people do. Would you agree? Do you think people appreciate the sort of honesty in the words?
Yeah, I think so.
It's not like a lot of songs not like Disney or fairy tales. Sometimes songs can be sad.
Yeah.
And I think some popular songs are sad.
Yeah,
as well,
they are,
it takes you back. So let's go right back to the beginning. Not right back to the beginning when you stood up in assembly and read out your song. I think, did you write a song about a carrot before you wrote a song about a potato? No? I've just made that one up. The Beatles.
Yes.
Guitar. So, yeah, Slowly My Guitar Weeps. That's another good one as well. I mean, they're all good, but that's quite an interesting song to sing. And you've talked about a few about relationships. So is that the connection there? Is it your sort of life? Or?
Well, that song was introduced to me by somebody I was in a relationship with previously, yes. But the Beatles my dad brought the Beatles into my life, really.
Right,
from a very young age. And I think there's obviously hundreds of songs that I could have picked from, because I knew I wanted a Beatles song on, but I wanted one that maybe not many people have heard or listened to before.
Yeah, because the Beatles have got so many hits, but then, like you said, the popular, well, the Beatles are obviously extremely popular, but you tend to find that most, maybe radio stations or most playlists have the more popular ones.
Yeah, of course they do.
Sometimes people I haven't heard this one for ages.
Yeah.
And I think you could argue again that the real fans, a lot of the singles will come off certain albums and such like, but the real fans, possibly your dad, I'll know all the songs.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and I think true fans will say, "Oh no, don't listen to this." It's a bit like Stairway to Heaven with Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
All the sort of, oh no, I'm not listening to Stairway to Heaven. Listen to this. And that's what tends to happen. So Dad's responsible.
Yes.
And again, Lennon and McCartney, obviously writing the songs.
Yeah.
Good. So you're a big Beatles fan.
I am. Yeah, my dad influenced a lot of my musical tastes, actually, to be honest.
Did it?
Yeah.
And is he tuned in tonight?
Well, he should be.
I will go up to say to Dad.
He'll be in trouble if he's not tuned in.
You might be in trouble. Give him a mention.
Hi, Dad.
And what about Mum? Where's Mum?
And my mum, she should be listening as well, yeah. Hi, Mum.
And what names? What's your mum's name?
My mum's name's Jean.
Good evening, Jean.
And my dad's name is Dave.
Oh, hey, good evening, Dave. From Dave to Dave, it's gay. A bit like Chuck to me to you, Chuckle Brothers, really. So they'll be tuned in and very proud of you. So where does the Erasure track Respect come from?
Oh, that is mine and my boyfriend's song.
Is it now?
It is,
it?
Yeah.
And is that something, is that... have you always liked Erasure? Or are you?
No, I'm not an Erasure fan.
I was going to say, were you... in the sort of 80s, you wouldn't have been out clubbing listening to Erasure, would you? You know, I mean, I'm going to say, I'm probably a little bit older than yourself.
I was a bit young in the 80s.
I'm going to say, I remember it first time round, and I thought you might throw a curveball at me there and say, this is Mum's influence.
No,
or, you know, like, you know, maybe.
Yeah, it's mine and my boyfriend's song, because we sing it to each other because it's fun to sing.
I like it. It's good. But the 80s are becoming really popular, and I think Erasure, they're back on the scene, aren't they? I think they've got a new album out, or a fairly recent one. They're all coming back. They're all coming back.
Yeah,
so how far does your music taste go? We've got the 60s, we've got the Fab Four, the Beatles, we've got the 80s. 80s Erasure, and we've got Johnny Cash from the 60s, 70s, and obviously a big movie star as well.
Yeah.
So is there any genre of music that you do not like?
I love, my music taste is very eclectic.
Is it now?
Yeah.
Is it? So what, if you had to pick one group, if you had to go see one artist, who would you pick? Dead or alive? They'll be playing words there, dead or alive on an 80s pop group. But dead or alive, on a serious note, who would you go see? If you could have one ticket, who would you go see?
I think it would have to be David Bowie.
Would it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, very, very sort of influential from the 60s right up to a few years ago. Yeah, just a real. I don't think there'll ever be another David Bowie, will there?
No, there won't.
Yeah, and his dad, is David Bowie fan.
yeah, he is.
So is he?
He
Yeah.
is.
So I remember him obviously through most of his career, if not all his career. Then so you've been listening to David Bowie as a child as well, then
Yeah, well, not so much actually. I think if you'd have asked me that question a few years ago, I probably would have said Elvis.
Do you know what? When I was joking about Jedi powers and I was laughing, trying to make you laugh, and I said, who would you pick? in my mind, I was trying to beam Elvis.
Really?
Yeah, and I'm actually trying to say Elvis, and if you'd have said it, I would have been amazed.
Wow. No, it would have. I've been an Elvis fan from when I was about 8.
You can come back on the show anytime. Favourite Elvis track? There is no favourite Elvis track.
No, I can't. There is no.
They're all good tracks. They're all brilliant, aren't they?
Yeah.
So, believe it or not, you've nearly survived. You have nearly survived
Wow.
the first hour of the show. But I tell you what song we're going to play that's going to take us up to the actual news. You've picked a little bit of Kate Bush.
Mm-hmm.
So just briefly tell us then, where does Kate Bush come into all this game playing?
My mum and my dad both love Kate Bush.
Good old mum. So what is it about Kate Bush then? You just think
she's crazy, isn't she? I think that's the appeal.
Well, again, I don't think there's anyone like Kate Bush.
There never will be.
No, because I think she came on the scene. This is how I see it.
Mm-hmm.
She came on the scene where, as obviously a female artiste,
yeah.
But I think there possibly were a lot more male artists, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and then she's such an individual, and maybe the females had people had a different sort of outlook, you know, and all of a sudden individual, bit of babouska, Wuthering Heights, picking all these crazy subjects to sing about.
Yeah, definitely.
Fantastic
and her
voice
dancing
and a dancing
wow.
in a wild air. And I think people genuinely, they just fell in love with her, didn't they?
Yeah.
And again, you see, the lyrics are all there, aren't they? We've got a few shout-outs. We've got Sue Echo Falsari writing under the name of Rose English. She's tuned in. Good evening. Good evening, Sue. And we've got the delightful and intoxicating Sharina Sate who's tuned in. And Kate, she's relating to Kate Bush. Loving Kate Bush. And Sharina is coming on the show next week. And we've also got my good friend Steve Brown tuned in. And your potato poem has gone global because before the end of the show, my good friend Steve, presenter and good friend, the guy who got me into all this crazy business, he's sent me a poem regarding a potato, or it's about a potato. So before the end of the show, and we'll read that out. And we'll have to eat, didn't we, really?
Yeah,
it's all good stuff.
Was good.
So you're going global. People are tuned in. People are relating to your poems and also relating to Kate Bush.
Yep.
But what we will move on to now is blogging.
Mm-hmm.
It always fascinates me, that word, blogging. And I think it's obviously accepted in the sort of 21st century. But it always sounds like something like, when I first heard the word blogging, it sounds something like, might be a bit rude or something.
It does sound a bit strange, doesn't it?
Yeah, like a Monty Python sketch. You can imagine John Cleese going, "No, I've been blogging," and you're just waiting. But I know you're an avid blogger.
Uh-huh.
So what sort of things are you? I've looked at it. You're sort of like a little bit of an adventure, and you're sort of going round and giving people a bit of advice. So just tell us a bit more about that blog, Kate.
There's a bit of everything in there. My blog's called My Random Wondering Months, and that's basically what it is. It's just a bit of everything. I have different sections on there. There's mental health, and there's my poetry, and then there's different adventures that I'm going off on with my family and friends and stuff like that.
So it's like a modern diary,
I suppose.
In a strange way.
Where
what's happening.
Yeah, that's where it started from. It was me just using it as a journal, I suppose. And now I've started doing product reviews as well, and event reviews and stuff like that as well. So
anybody wanting to get in to blogging, because I always ask this. It's something that I haven't that I don't do.
Yeah.
Not that I don't want to do it. And I'm sure you can appreciate, Kate, there's so many different platforms of writing.
Yeah.
I feel if I started blogging, it'd distract me from other things I want to do. But what advice would you... Anybody tuned in, wants to start a blog, what advice would you give them? What makes a good blog?
What makes a good blog?
I mean, do you get a lot of people coming? Wait, how long have you been running your blog now?
I've had my blog about 3 years, I think, but I've only taken it seriously for about maybe 9 months.
See that's the key point. So anyone can start a blog.
Yeah.
So really, what you're saying is, if it's like a month here and a month there, people are not interested.
Yeah.
Consistency.
Yeah,
is that the key?
Yeah, of course it is.
And do you get a lot of people sort of reading it and reacting to your blog?
I think over the last few months it's started to build up. I've got about 1,700 views a month.
And that's what sounds good to me.
Yeah, well, I think it's good, but there are people obviously that have hundreds of thousands viewing their blog a month.
And does it tell you then? So if you get a blog going, it tells you what figures
you get stats on there. Yeah, so it tells you who's how many views you got a day and things like that. And
so what were the figures before you started taking it seriously?
It was probably maybe 100 to 300 people a month.
So that's a good piece of advice. If you're just playing at it, it's into the hundreds, and the last sort of 9 months, you've really give it some.
Yeah, I was blogging every day for the last 4 months, I think.
Yes.
But I have had to cut it down because it's
Is it taking out your life?
It's difficult to find something interesting to write about every single day.
I'm going to say that. Do you have to find a real sort of... Do you have to find a niche in the market, or do you have to find something that everyone's talking about?
It does help, I think, to find a niche in the market, and mine, I have been... In fact, I did write a blog post on it about a couple of weeks ago about my USP and how I don't really have one. My USP
Just remind the listeners what USP stands
Your
for.
Your unique selling point.
Fantastic. I knew that, but I didn't want to think. It's just that some people might be,
Well, that was that is exactly what I said in my blog post. When a lady said to me, "What is your USP?" I said, "What? I don't know."
Well, I can say snap there because it's only from working at the colleges that I knew what a USP was, because when we had to go on this training, I didn't know these special training courses, exactly the same, Kate.
Yeah.
You know, ladies stood up at the front, this college needs a USP. What is USP?
Yeah.
So that's the reason I know. That was about 3 years ago, something like that. Yeah. But do you think then it's too many people, when I mentioned about finding something to blog about that everyone's talking about, is it fair to say then that there's obviously going to be thousands of people doing a very similar blog?
I think, because there are a lot of blogs on, say, reviewing films or books or that kind of thing.
Yes.
And it's fair enough if there's loads of people doing that, because everyone's opinion of that book or film is going to be different anyway.
And a bit of healthy competition.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And is it possible to make a living or a small amount of income from a blog?
It certainly is, but unfortunately I'm not at that point yet.
So, but how does that sort of come about? Does it go on the viewers then, or the hits? Is that the right words to use? Or the people that are looking at your blog, how does that actually work? Will people advertise on
you can do things through like Amazon Associates and things like that in advertising, and then you can do sponsored posts as well, where people will say, write this and we'll pay you.
But it's not a bad idea, because there might be people out there that, you know, might have some time on their hands, or they might like to do a little bit of writing.
Yeah.
And like you say, if you're writing things interesting, and you can get a little bit of revenue, then why not?
Yeah, exactly.
So what we're saying is blogging is actually worth a stab then.
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah,
you know, it's and reviews. But you've also got another string to your bow. What's this little bird telling me? That you like cooking.
Well,
but not only like cooking in the kitchen, we've taken the cooking to YouTube. So just tell me now. I mean, we're not just talking. Are we talking a potted meat sandwich, a boiled egg, or are we talking a full Italian dish? What level of cooking are we talking about, Kate?
Well, I have to admit that it's not me.
I thought you were going to say potted meat sandwich.
I do like a potted meat sandwich.
I do love a potted meat sandwich, yeah. A little bit of brown sauce on as well.
Oh,
yeah.
no, I don't know about that.
You'll have to try it. There's a first time for everything.
Okay.
If you can blog, you can have brown sauce. So, right, tell us about this, about the YouTube cooking, please.
It's me and my mum.
Oh, good old mum.
Yeah. And my mum's doing the cooking.
Brilliant.
And I'm filming her.
And how long have you been?
Our first video was posted last week, I think.
So it's just a very new.
Very new.
Oh,
yeah,
brilliant,
completely new.
So is that something that mum? Does your mum like? Has she always been a good cook?
Oh yeah.
She loves. Cooking.
Yeah, and baking and all that kind of stuff. And
she's always done that since you were a child, and always sort of been like being in the kitchen. And what sort of things? Is it traditional sort of English things, or, you know, Italian, French?
Well, it's going to be everything and anything. At the moment, we started out with a recipe box that we got, and we've reviewed that really as part of the vlog. And then
the vlog,
yes.
And that is, so we talked about blogging and it's like some offshoot of blogging. Tell people what a vlog is.
It's a video log, I think. I hope.
So I say that blogging is so you're basically writing about something. You can access it online and you blog, and it's like a diary or a daily journal. And a vlog is it's a video.
It's a video,
and it's on YouTube. And it can be on any subject.
Yeah. As far as I know, yeah.
And how long does the YouTube video last?
I think we've done 3 videos, and I think they're all about maybe 10 minutes long.
Smoke alarms don't go off to that.
No, it's not that bad.
I'm brilliant. So it's where can we access it? If we go on to YouTube, so if people tuned in now, obviously you've got a lot of your family tuned in, your friends, but people who don't sort of know you or know you a little bit vaguely, something like that. What do we type in? What do we type into YouTube?
Well, it's called Foxy Lady Food.
Foxy Lady Food.
However, I'm not sure that will bring up the right channel, because I think...
Are you kidding me? Am I going to get arrested for typing Foxy Lady Food in there?
No, the reason for that being the name is my mum's dog is called Foxy.
Yes.
And so my brother came up with naming it Foxy Lady. And so we also have a blog for it as well. So on WordPress, if you search for Foxy Lady Food, you should be able to access the YouTube videos via our blog. Brilliant.
And if people don't want to go down the YouTube Foxy Lady route and just want to get you on the blog, not the vlog, the blog. I'm going to slip up here. David Adams is going to ring up and say, what are you doing? Where can people get your blog, or how can people access the blog? Yeah,
my blog is My Random Wonderingments.
My Random Wonderingments.
Yep.
I'm sure you do it on purpose, Kate, to make sure. and that's your blog.
It is, yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
And we can also get it on YouTube. It sounds brilliant. We are going to take another short break. I am just going to throw a little bit of a curveball at you, because my good friend Steve Brown has been highly influenced by tonight's guest, Kate Hames. He's adoring the potato poem, and believe it or not, this is why we broadcast the Writer's Bookshelf, because we want all the global listeners near and far to join in with the fun and frolics. So people might know him as Steve Brown, man of football commentary, Steve Brown, man of Drystone Radio, and Steve Brown, the breakfast boy. But I know him as a poet. And I'm going to share this with you, because I'm sure he's going to win some prizes. And it goes something like this. It's by the one and only unstoppable Mr. Stephen Brown. He hasn't given it a title, but it's based on a spud or a potato, and this is how it goes. There was a man called Potato who went for a walk with his mate-o. He stayed for an hour and got caught in a shower and eventually ended up on my plate-o. Writing stuff like that, Steve, I think you could be a guest next year on the Writer's Bookshelf. Absolutely fantastic. And if you want a little bit more of Steve Brown, please tune in tomorrow, 7 o'clock until 10 for the brilliant Craven at Breakfast. But tonight, it's all about Kate Hames. We know her as a poet, a blogger, and a vlogger. And I'm going to stop there before I get mixed up with all my words. I did say, have you got any books published? And you said yes.
Yep.
And you've got a book. And just tell us a little bit more about this book.
Yep. My book is called From Flat Out to Focused.
From Flat Out to Focused.
Yes.
Brilliant. And it's not a poetry book, or it's not like a work of fiction. It's helping people, obviously, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a self-help guide for anxiety, depression, PTSD, mental health issues, really.
Which is it's at the front of the forefront of things at the moment.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So why do you think that is? Why do you think it's always been there and it hasn't been addressed? Or because I know some people say it's a new thing. This is not my opinion. I'm just going by what the sort of tabloids say. So everybody's depressed, everybody's got anxiety, everybody this, everybody that. Do you think it's always been there, and now we are opening up to more sort of medical issues, if that's the right word, or do you think it is a new part of our life?
I think there's always been the potential for it to be there, but I think people place more stress on themselves these days, and that's where the mental health issues come from.
So why do you think people put more? So do you think there's more sort of expectation in life, like as in the old saying, keeping up with the Joneses, like two cars and holidays and extensions and mobile phones and iPads and all that malarkey? Do you think that adds to the pressure?
I do, yeah. And I think we don't take enough time. Everyone's constantly busy, rushing, stressing. Nobody takes any time to just do nothing, and because you do need to look after your mental health, your brain, as much as you do your physical health, and we don't do that.
And that's a valid point. So do you think the main focus, obviously, is to be a family unit, if you like, you know, or man, woman, child, whatever, you're a family unit, you're earning the bread. And a lot of people, they go running, swimming, they do Ironman events, or, you know, he or she, whatever, they're cycling, they've gone crazy over cycling, and everybody's looking good. So what you're saying is people are obsessed with getting a six-pack or dropping a dress size. I don't mean no offence, but and you're looking good physically and looking good when you're strutting your stuff on a Saturday night, but you're not resting your mind.
Yeah, I think so.
And it's something we haven't addressed really, and it's
but
starting to
although
affect people.
Doing things like exercise obviously does help for mental health anyway.
Yes.
But there's so much pressure around how people look.
So how did all this come about then, Kate? Is that something that's been a part of your life, or so do you want to tell us a bit more about that and how the book came about?
It's mental health issues have always been something that I've dealt with personally and with members of my family for years, and it was probably about a year ago where I got to a really difficult point in my life, and I needed something to change because things were getting really bad, and so I decided that I was going to do something about it. Which
probably is a positive thing to do, isn't it?
Yeah, of course.
So if you hadn't done that, you really negative point. So you've created positivity instead of negativity, and sort of fought back, if you like. It
was the book really is about how the last year of my life has got. That's why it's called From Flat Out to Focused,
right?
Because I'd hit not rock bottom,
but somewhere near.
Yeah. And I had a lot of help from people to bring myself back round, to get back up, and that's basically what I've written about, how I've had help from other people and helped myself.
And that's, you're here now, and I'm pleased to say, I did meet you at the UK Indie Lit Fest. You're here now, you've got a beaming smile, and a beaming smile. So I think if you have been sort of down, you certainly haven't been out. You're the other end of the scale now.
Yeah,
definitely. I mean, we've had such a laugh, so far tonight, and obviously you're so bright and bubbly at the UK Indie Lit Fest. So, is it fair to say then that the book comes from two halves? As in, it is an advice. It is a book advising and trying to give some help, but it's also written from your personal sort of angle on things. Your certain input into that book. Is it a little bit of? Do you share some of your personal problems in that book as well?
Yeah, to an extent. I've not gone into huge detail about things.
But detail. Did you feel you had to do that simply because it sounds like it's a book to reach out and offer help?
Yeah.
But if you have been there yourself, just enough for others, possibly with down and out depression or that anxiety, to think, well, this lady knows what she's talking about and can relate.
Yeah, because you can't just, you could just do this, do that, and you'll feel better. But people need to know that you've been where they might have been, or in similar situations, and that does help to know that you're not alone. And that's what's in the book. Which
is probably the best thing to do, because people don't want to be. I don't use this word lightly, but people don't want to be patronised.
No.
You don't want somebody. I mean, obviously, it's not something that's happened to myself, but obviously, you writing that from a very personal point of view, you don't want someone coming along patronising you. And did you feel you had to write it that way to get the connection?
Yeah, because I think, like you say, you don't want to patronise people, and there's so many different aspects of how your mental health, how you've got to that stage. I mean, it can come from anything that's happened in your life. It was. And
was it a difficult book to write? I mean, from the angle of obviously, you're absolutely full of life now, and obviously possibly at the other end of the scale, you got your mum, dad, family and friends around you.
Yeah.
did you have to relive those moments? Did you feel better because you'd written about it and felt you'd moved on even further by giving advice to others? Or was it hard when you sort of cast your mind back?
I think I'd got to the point where I felt comfortable enough to write about it so that I didn't have to go back and relive those things. I think if I was still in that frame of mind where I had to relive them, I wouldn't have been able to write the book.
Yeah. So you felt stronger, obviously, when you were thinking about it, thinking, well, yeah, I've been there.
Yeah.
But I've done it now.
Exactly.
How long has this book been available then, Kate?
It was, I think I published it in June.
Oh, so again, it's a 2017 book. It's not it's not quite 6 months.
I might be wrong. I'm sure it was this year.
So as the author, of the book, Kate, on the writer's bookshelf. Are you having a little bit of amnesia? No, I'm only joking. So you've got the book, brilliant, yeah. And where you already put my teeth in. Already answered the question. Did you say Amazon? Is it available?
Yes, it is.
Anywhere else? Is it available in any bookstores or any?
It's not. No, it's just available on Amazon as an ebook or a paperback. Paperback
book. So anybody tuned in that they might just want to read it to see what to see what you can offer, or to share in your journey. If I type into Amazon books Kate Hames, it comes up.
Yep.
Just remind us of the title.
It's From Flat Out to Focused.
From Flat Out to Focused. And how much is it? People will be asking me this a bit later on. It's priced at
£3.50 for a paperback.
That's fantastic value. Yep. And the ebook is,
I want to say £1.99.
Well, you've already said it. You've said it live, £1.99. You don't have to look tentative. And the sales are going all right then, yeah?
I've been pleasantly surprised.
Good. Did you feel like you might want to sort of put it through I don't know how to sort of word this. Would you put it through any sort of medical outlets? I mean, obviously, or centres that offer offer advice and help to people that have been possibly in the similar situation to yourself?
Yeah, I've not really gone down that route and had a look.
I think that might be a way, really, because I mean, it might lift people because people go see a doctor, people go see a nurse, people possibly don't know where to turn, but possibly there's no better outlet that someone that's been there and pulled themselves through.
Yeah, definitely.
So it might be
something to think about.
And sort of trying to. So, do you think? Looking to the future, I did talk about the poetry. Yeah. Do you think you might get some of your fantastic poetry together and make it available next year? I don't think you probably might not have enough time to do it this year because you did go along to the UK Indie Lit Fest.
Yes.
I think you should get some of your poetry together. Is that something you're looking to do?
For a poetry book?
Well, it could be, yes.
Yeah, I have. It was going to be my aim to have one published by Christmas, to be honest. That was my aim after this year. But things have just exploded, and
you've been blogging and vlogging, and it's just you've got
something had to give. So unfortunately, it was the poetry book.
So what are the plans? What are the plans for 20? We're not so far away now until the last month. What can we expect in 2018 from Kate Hames?
2018. I am going to be starting my second book in February.
Yes. And I've got a world exclusive.
Well, I don't know much about it myself yet, but it doesn't have a title yet.
You're a little bit of an enigma, aren't you? I don't have to...
I know that it is going to be focused around mental health again.
Right, so it's on a similar vein. It is. They say it's not a work of fiction. It's going to be based around
it's going to be
health.
Mainly around how I've pushed myself into circumstances where I might be uncomfortable. Brilliant. And just
I think it sounds good. And have you got a particular month? Have you aimed for a date, or are you going to set yourself a target, Kate, and stick to it?
Because I spoke at a mental health awareness event earlier this year, and I met another lady there who writes novels based around mental health, and she's actually asked if I want to launch my book at the same time as her next one.
That sounds fantastic. So she's connected, writing's brought you together.
Yes, yep.
You've been in a dark place, you've lifted yourself out, fantastic.
Yeah.
You're here, and thanks for coming on the show, but you've also connected with someone else.
Yeah.
So it sounds like it's all good stuff to you.
It is, yeah.
And also, what does December bring, Kate? it brings panto.
It does.
Oh, no, it doesn't. Oh, yes, it does.
I missed that one, didn't I?
You did, yeah. I'd have thought you'd have been on the ball there.
I really wasn't.
You know, you're just amazed that you've already survived because you're a little bit nervy when you first came.
Yeah.
So just tell us a little bit about panto, because it sounds like you're full. You're full of beans. Mm-hmm. You have mentioned, when I've done a little bit of investigating work about you, where's the panto taking place and what part are you playing?
The panto is Beauty and the Beast.
Yes.
It's at the Mart Theatre in Skipton.
Yes.
And I am playing Belle.
Oh, I'm going to say you're in the lead role.
Well,
brilliant.
One of them.
Brilliant. And have you always been involved in pantomime?
I have never done panto before in my life.
Because I must admit, when I first sort of met you, I thought to myself, you know, nice, bubbly. Get yourself on the show. I invited you sort of on the show. I met you in person, and we had a chat before we came on air. And you know, I made a joke about the Superman boots and the way you sort of present yourself, which I think is brilliant. And I just thought, when I found out you were doing panto, I thought, I bet you've done loads of panto. And
no,
how wrong can I be?
I have performed. I did go to drama school when I was younger.
Right. So, and you've had a little bit of a gap since.
Well, a huge gap from drama school, but I did.
So when you're at drama school, obviously at school, you're just a teenager. I was talking, and so we've moved on. So is this? So have you thrown yourself sort of in at the deep end? Does this just relate to if you don't mind me asking, just playing Belle in pantomime? Does it relate to the sort of the mental health in the book and building confidence again? Yeah. Yeah,
in a way. I did a show a few years ago. It was a charity show where we did like musicals, and so that was on stage. But it's my friend that runs the events at the Mart Theatre. He asked if I would play Belle, and so I just thought. In fact, my friend said, "Oh my God, you've got to do this," and so it was okay. Yeah, thank you. And then
I think it'd be really good for you. And obviously you've been to rehearsals. When's it kicking off then? Very shortly?
It's the first show is on the 15th of December.
Right, so we're just over.
We've got 2 more on the Saturday and 2 more on the Sunday.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, rehearsals didn't start until this Saturday, just gone though. So
I think you're going to do really, really well.
Thank you.
Kate, how did Bob Dylan come into your life? Is that another influence by mum and dad, or did you put my taste in again? Did you discover Bob Dylan on your very own?
No, that's an influence from my dad.
From dad again. Sounds like it. Dave, he's got excellent taste. He's a Bob Dylan fan. Beatles. He likes all the greats.
Yeah, he does.
Brilliant. And mum, did you say mum, Kate Bush? Have we got that?
Yeah.
Oh, you see.
And Joni Mitchell's influence from my mum as well.
Well done, mum and dad.
Yeah.
And I'm going to check you out, you foxy lady, on YouTube. I'm not going to do it here. I'll do it at home. I'll do it on my own. I don't want David Adams getting in trouble. I'm only joking. So, believe it or not, we've got about 15 minutes left. So, we're going to try and get in a little bit more of your poetry. So, it's brilliant. And you're a little bit sort of on edge about this next one because it's a little bit of a I wouldn't say a naughty one, but it's a little bit of a suggestive one, Kate. How did this one come about?
It's something, I think it came from something to do with a vampire.
Oh, we like vampires at the writer's bookshelf.
I don't know. That's the idea.
It's a funny thing is writing. It's something's got inside your head.
Yeah.
You want to get this story out on the platform of a poem. So in your own time, share this poem with us. Away you go.
This one is called Intimate Strangers. His seductive caress on my naked thigh is enough to drive me wild. My breath catches in my chest, my head begins to swim. It's impossible to focus on anything other than his lips on mine. I can feel his urgency as he presses against me. I let out a low moan which penetrates the heavy silence of the darkened room. I catch a glimpse of his reflection in a bedside mirror. The momentary tease of his unadorned form adds to my already heightened arousal. Beads of sweat slither down my spine as the pleasure begins to build. A shockwave of orgasmic desire surges through us instantaneously. He retreats as quickly as he appeared. Never again will I experience the intensity of his touch, the tender yet unyielding way he drove me to a utopian state. Forevermore we shall remain silent strangers in the night, intimate strangers destined never to meet again.
Oh, well, you know, that is the best poem of the night. I thought it was fantastic.
Thank you.
And, you know, I know you're a little bit nervous about reading it out. I know, obviously I don't want to upset you, but I would not be sort of ashamed or scared of reading that poem out.
Thank
because it's fantastic. Because it's not like, there's no swear words in there, even if it's suggestive. I think it was absolutely spot on.
Thank you.
For, in my opinion, vampires never go out of fashion.
No.
I mean, I'm a fan of vampires anyway. I go to Whitby Goth Weekend twice a year, and I think I've had other guests on, and I think if you want to get into writing, poetry, short stories, vampires are always the top of the list.
Yeah.
And there's always different avenues, because you can have a real sort of bloodbath, if you like.
Yeah, yeah.
But let's face it, Dracula is a love story.
Yeah, yeah, of course it is.
Who don't like Gary Oldman? Oh, yeah. Your old demeanour changed then when I said Gary Oldman in Dracula. But I think sort of Dracula, I mean, it's a love story, but sort of vampires and Dracula, it is a sexual type.
Yeah.
It is a thing, and it's sort of a lust, and he's the undead.
Yeah.
But he's this really evil beast, you know. But he's not really, because he's charming and good looking. And I think it
definitely
works all the time, because I think you know, for me, I think obviously all the females, I think possibly sort of deep down you think, oh, I might be seduced by a vampire.
Yeah.
And I think the blokes think, oh, I wish I were that. Maybe cool, but it works, I think. And I think it's quite it just sort of flits around the edge, doesn't it?
It does.
It's not sort of, it's not like sort of erotic and might be upset some people. And it's like strangers, and he's sort of drifted in and... You know, naughty boy, and he's drifted out again. I'd say,
exactly.
You know? and you know, he's gone away before the dawn, before the sun claims him. You know,
I think that's where it came from.
Or some happy dad or granddad might blast him with it. Have you got a job, lad? Are you going to support my daughter? No, but I think it's brilliant. I think you should write a little bit more of that.
Thank you.
It's good. Is it? You want to have a little bit of a go at sort of horror? Do you like the vampire?
Yeah, I love vampires. I think my influence of vampires came from watching Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Again,
but it was. Yeah. I mean, he was very charismatic and charming. Was Angel in Buffy, and that's probably where that's where that's come from. Yeah, I mean, it definitely works. You see, could be maybe a collection of poems, you know, about vampires or vampirism and stuff like that, and get yourself a collection. But I think that would connect with all ages. You mentioned about Buffy and teenage. There's teenage vampires. There's when I say adult, I mean obviously there's a sort of really bloodthirsty stuff and somewhere in between. And I think that's a good sort of thing to sort of do, really. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that one. Have we got another one lurking in there?
Yes.
Not another vampire. I mean,
no,
one's
there's
enough.
No more vampires, I'm afraid.
and the potatoes have gone. Well, sneak another in, because after this next poem, you've picked a fantastic poem, even a fantastic song. I'm losing my mind now. And I think when we play this next song, I think most of the listeners, if not all the global listeners, will sing along and dance to it, don't you, Kate? So let's have this poem. What's this one going by? What name?
This one is called Silver Lining.
Silver Lining.
Yes.
Okay, then.
The heavy wooden pier stretches out from under my feet. The mixture of salt and candy is sharp and sickly sweet. A whipping wind that flips my hair, it lands across my face. I lose sight of you for a second, my heart begins to race. Your chubby cheeks are smothered with sugar and a smile so pure. Your hand held out for mother to take, to soothe and reassure. I scoop you up to hold you close and plant kisses on your head. Your infectious laughter erupts with ease to a smile so easily spread. We snuggle up close as the rain begins to fall. A blanket beneath the boardwalk, the warmth shared under my shawl. I shall keep you safe for always and will never leave your side. The life we dream is almost in reach and no longer must we hide. The storm starts to clear as quickly as it began. A rainbow now resides where the dark clouds held their dam. A deep breath and a smile is all I need to go on. We have to keep on moving, my child, until our fears are gone.
Well, Kate, that is absolutely brilliant stuff.
Thank you.
Do not lie to me. You've all got a tear in your eye. and you've been quietly singing along, just like my guest this evening, Kate. You like singing along to that one, Kate, didn't you?
Yeah, I like that.
I should have secretly turned your microphone on.
Yeah.
But no, I'm only joking with it. Well, believe it or not, we have got time, should I say, for one more song. I'm going to play that out very, very shortly. But we're going to have a final word, and I think before we can do that, you're going to share maybe one or two more poems with us.
Yep.
So
I can do that.
if you've got those ready, please do so.
Okay, this one is called Celestial Temptation. I've walked your pathways once or twice, but only in my dreams, for now I know this will suffice until I cross your seams. Your vastness calls, it's beckoning, it's tranquil there I see. My mind and heart are reckoning, my soul will be set free. I've sensed your presence many times, a yearning that is shared. Our passion builds, so high it climbs, no longer am I scared. A fear that was quite fragile, so easily suppressed. My feelings now are agile, I've come to take the test. My mortality has been set free, vacated to be tranquil. Eternity is ours to see, a lifetime to be thankful.
Oh, brilliant, brilliant stuff there, Kate. And I do think, just looking at the time, since it's you, we can just sneak in one more poem.
Okay.
Final poem of the evening, and then we'll have to say goodnight.
This is Acceptance. I often try to think of ways to make you realise this is real. My words are often lost on you. Rejection is what I feel. My pen is poised above the paper, wanting to tell you more. My heart is bursting with love and feelings buried beneath the core. Just a glimpse of happiness, a moment that we shared, a secret smile or whispered word, a hint to show you cared. I'm not asking every day for what our future may or may not hold. Once in a while, just let me know that your feelings won't go cold. So much time has gone by, and still I'm left in the dark. Strength came to bring me out of here, a fire ignited from my spark. Anger built inside of me, the rage I could not control. Then tranquil peace swept through me, as white light enveloped my soul. The storm rode calmly over as I laid here on my bed. The thought of you is passing, drifting slowly through my head. It's time for me to leave now, I hope you understand. No longer will I kiss you or take you by the hand. The dreams we shared together have been shattered by time. The hopes I have inside me are no longer ours, but mine.
Oh, Kate, absolutely brilliant stuff.
Thank you.
And thank you. Thank you for coming on the show and agreeing to be a guest on the Writer's Bookshelf. Have you enjoyed yourself?
Yes, it's been wonderful.
You're a member of the gang now.
Brilliant.
And you are certainly welcome any time. Just get in touch and we'll have you back on the show. If you've liked what you've been listening to, please tune in next week when the gorgeous Sharina Sarte will be joining me in the studio for more poetry. So please don't miss out on that. All I can say is good night and God bless.